Hi, welcome back to Mr. Slover's Math. Today we're going to focus on reading an analog clock. So this front side is just getting us some general information on time and clocks. So how long is a normal workday? 8 hours. How many breaks are you allowed in a normal workday? 2 15-minute breaks and 1 30-minute lunch break. Now I say normal workday because that's typically what most of us are going to work in after high school. There are jobs that are not necessarily considered normal work hours. First responders, EMTs could be on 24-hour shifts or 48-hour shifts. Same thing with doctors. So I wouldn't consider those normal work day. Normal work day would be the typical working 5 days a week for 8 hours. Right? So just be aware that that's what I'm referencing when I talk about a normal work day. But there are other jobs that have different hours of work. Okay. Just to remind you, there are 24 hours in a day, there's 60 minutes in an hour, and there's 7 days in a week. Most work weeks are 5 days, or the typical work week is 5 days, which is Monday through Friday. Once again, it depends on your job. Some professions have work weeks that are different. Maybe you only work 4 days a week, maybe work on the weekends, but the work week is considered Monday through Friday, 5 days. Now, these are just things that you may or may not have heard in conversation. What does half past the hour mean, or half past the hour, or quarter to the hour? So the first one, quarter past, is 15 minutes past the hour, so 8:15. Half past the hour is 30 minutes past the hour, which is 7:30. And quarter to the hour is 15 minutes to the hour. Now you're thinking quarter, that's not 15, that's 25. Well, that's in terms of money. Quarter in terms of minutes, or in terms of an hour, is based off of the 60 minutes. So if I do 60 divided by 4, a quarter is 15 minutes. So that's why anytime someone says quarter of an hour, it's 15 minutes. Military time is using 24-hour format. So they have 0100, 0200, so on and so forth, and they count up to 1800, 1900, 2000 hours, things like that. And are there different time zones? Yes. So I should have been more specific. This is the United States that we're focusing on. There's Pacific, Mountain, Central, which is where we are, and then Eastern. So there's 4 time zones in the United States that we're going to focus on. And once again, we live in the Central. So this is just more practice of some terminology: quarter past 3, half past 1, quarter to 10. You can try that on your own if you want. Sometimes those in the older generation still use this terminology. So you may hear it, you may not. It just depends on the adults that you have conversations with. Here's an analog clock. So this number here, or this line, this arm, if you will, is what they're called, their arms, is the second hand. Right? Typically it's red. It's a red second hand that goes around. It moves every second. It's not always red, but most of the time it is. The longer one is the minute hand. Okay? Of the two, because not everyone has a minute, not everyone has a second hand, but of the two, right? So this is thin and this is thicker. So that's how you can tell the difference between the second hand and the minute hand. So this is going to be longer, and that is your minute hand. These are the hour marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 12. They could be in Roman numerals. These little tick marks are the minute marks. So there are 60 of them all the way around. Okay? So anytime you go to the hour mark, that's 5-minute intervals. So 5, 10, 15, 20. I'm just adding 5 minutes each time, all the way around the clock. And then I have the hour hand is the shorter hand. So the first part, I'm asking you to state the time on the clocks. So I have 2 hands. This one is shorter and this one is longer. So this is the hour hand. It's pointing to the 9. and this is pointing to the 12. It doesn't mean it's 9:12. Okay, when your minute hand points to the 12, that means it's the top of the hour or the start of the hour. So we're at resets. We're at 0 now. So we have 9 o'clock. Letter B, the short hand or the hour hand is pointing to the 11 and the longer one's at the 12. So once again, we're at 11 o'clock. And then here, short hand, long hand, both at the 12, we're at 12 o'clock. So D, E, and F. So this one, my hour hand is here, and it's pretty close to 5, but it's not at 5 or past. So that means it hasn't hit 5 yet. It means it's at 4. So it's at 4, and if you need to, you can count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So at the 9 is 45 minutes, and that's why up here I wrote in red those numbers as a reference. So if you don't know that, maybe that might be helpful to write down or to memorize. Letter E. So the hour hand is partway between the 8 and the 9. So that means it's 8, and then the minute hand's pointing to the 6, makes it 8:30. This is almost at 10, but it's not at 10, so that means it's 9 something, and then the minute hand is pointing to the 9, so 9:45. Now notice on these three, the hour hand is not pointing exactly to an hour. Okay? All three of these, the hour hand is not pointing to an hour. That's because your hour hand moves just like your minute hand moves. So every time there's a minute that moves, your hour hand moves just a smidge. And it gets closer and closer to the next hour mark. So that's why this is not pointing right at the 4, because my hour hand moves as my minute hand moves. So when we go ahead and we draw these at 8:10, my hour hand, which is all highlighted in yellow, should not be right at the 8, because I've started to move past 8. I'm getting closer to 9. So my hour hand should start moving as well closer to 9. Now it shouldn't be all the way at 9. It should be pretty close to the 8 because the hour just started. So 8:10. 2 o'clock. So hour's at 2, minute hand is at the 12 because it's the start of the hour. 9:30, the hour hand should be right in between the 9 and the 10 because 30 minutes is halfway between the hour. 4:25, your hour hand should be almost halfway between the 4 and the 5, and then your minute hand should be at the 25. So we should be a little bit past 2, and then 19, which is 1 tick mark above the 4. Okay, so here's a few more examples. If you haven't already, go ahead and try those. So make sure when you're reading a clock that your hour hand is the shorter hand, your minute hand is the longer one. So this one, it's not at 8, it didn't pass 8, so that means it's not 8 o'clock yet. It's before 8, but it's pretty close to 8 because the hour hand is almost at the 8. Same thing on this one. So I'm at, the hour hand's not at 1, but it's getting closer to 1, so that means I know it's almost 1 o'clock. So it's 12:42, it looks like. So here's the big takeaway from today. How to read an analog clock. Here's all the terminology that you're going to use, all the numbers. Like I said, you may have Roman numerals instead of the 1, 2, 3, 4. You may have the Roman